So there we go. We're going to focus on tummy today, Pilates Powerhouse, and we'll begin on our backs. I'm going to show you how we breathe in Pilates so that you can differentiate. We have a breath that we use a little bit different than we do in yoga. We're going to breathe in through our nose, and when we breathe in through our nose in Pilates, we expand the rib cage. So we're going to expand the ribs, and you want to feel them from the back. I want to make sure that you feel your natural curve in your back. So you want to have that arch, so you want to be a neutral spine in all the work we do. This idea of flattening your back to the floor is an old and incorrect idea. So make sure you've got your natural curve so that your powerhouse turns on, and that powerhouse is essentially the anatomical muscles would be, you've got your transverse abdominals, you've got the rectus abdominis, you've got the pelvic floor muscles, you've got the gluteus medius, the psoas is involved, and the quadratus lumborum. So you've got basically where you'd wear a girdle, that would be engaged, and then all the way down into the anal sphincter and the glutes. All of that encompasses to hold and be your core, your center, or your powerhouse, physical powerhouse here. So we'll keep that in mind. We'll keep the breathing in mind, where you're breathing in through your nose and expanding the lungs, where you feel that connection of expansion and the muscles wrap, and then you're going to exhale through your mouth. And as you do, it's as if you are as if you're pulling in or sewing into your belly button. So you can see as each movement, that exhale will actually help us brace the work we do. And there should be no work coming from the back around. It should be coming from the front or inside at that zipper and wrapping around to hold and stabilize that lumbar. It's a really key piece for Pilates. It makes all the difference in the world. All right, so let's begin with that basic movement. We'll breathe, inhaling, expanding the ribs, bringing the ribs down. And then as we exhale, you're just going to tie, like you're tying at the belly button and bringing a string around and wrapping those muscles. It should feel very succinct that you are absolutely activating and engaging those pelvic floor muscles and wrap all the way up to your sternum, just feeling like they're really wrapping and hugging the framework of the body. So that when we do the next movement, we're going to take this into mermaid feet. So this is similar to what I do with wishbone kicks, but with this one, you're going to keep that pelvic neutral. Knees stay together. The feet are going to come apart slightly, and we're going to come up onto our toes without tensing through the feet. So we don't want to get any feet cramps. You want to be really relaxed in the feet, but you are going to come up. That's going to activate a little bit more. We're going to hit that piriformis, which attaches up to the psoas. So we want to get that involved, and we're going to do a very simple hundreds type of motion. So we're going to float the head, neck, shoulders up. The first thing I want you to do, though, is bring your chin to your chest just slightly so we take any pressure off that cervical. The head is not coming up without the torso lifting. So the head's just going to float with that chin into the chest. So we're going to come up, and we're going to stay in this strong position. We don't want to flatten the back. We just want to wrap those muscles. So hug those in. Inhaling. We'll inhale for 5, and then we're going to exhale for 5. Now we're going to add the feet. So we're going to inhale and switch on the exhale. If you've been doing this for a bit, you can take your feet up and you can kick 1 and 2, inhaling and exhaling. Shoulders stay pocketed. If you would like to take both feet up, you can. We're going to keep those knees together first because I want to hit that psoas and the piriformis in there. And then we're going to open up, and we can turn those toes so that they're facing outward. Inhaling and exhaling. If your neck starts hurting, go ahead and put it down, but still keep pumping and keep that framework that you're really wrapping those muscles, hugging those muscles. So we'll continue inhaling. Exhale. We'll finish with a roll down. Head is relaxed, feet come down to the floor, and we're just going to look side to side, releasing there. So that should feel like it warmed up your belly a little bit. And we're going to do that similar leg movement where the knees are together and the feet are apart. We're going to lift up so we activate through those muscles. That movement in there is really more about the hips than it is the knees being together, but pushing your knees together, that opens up that hip area. So we want to have that, especially if you've been sitting a lot. So we want to get that movement there. So we're going to keep that motion or that framework, and then we're going to take the arms behind the head, and we're going to do almost like a push-up or a sit-up with this framework. The thing that's different is we don't want to be flattening the back flat to the floor. Inhaling, expand the lungs, expand through those lower ribs, and then exhale, but notice I'm not flattening my back to the floor. It will come down a little bit, but the job is not to push the back flat. You still want that beautiful framework of your spine. You just want to feel those muscles turn on and engage in this beautiful way. So then we'll come down, and it's very precise. This isn't about doing kind of sit-ups like this. Hopefully you'll never do that again. With correct movements in Pilates, you can get beautiful work. So you're going to notice my back is not moving. All that's happening is that I'm engaging through the front wrapped muscles. And as I come down, my framework, my pelvis isn't moving. So you'll do 10 of those. Keep the feet relaxed. As you get more advanced, you can extend those legs up. But you want to make sure this is not affecting your back in any way. You'll know if it's affecting your back because your framework will come out of alignment. So ensure that you've got good, strong framework in there where your pelvis is in neutral and you're wrapping. Okay, so this is a good place to go right into our corkscrew. The thing that's going to be different with our corkscrew is that we're going to cross one leg over the other. And if you are unable to really stick that pelvic neutral, I will sometimes have clients put their hands underneath to support that sacral and that pelvic area from the back, especially if you tend to have back issues. So just be really mindful of that. As you advance though, you want to be able to keep your framework perfect with your muscles and not allow that back to overtake the work. So we really want to focus on getting that deep pelvic floor engaged and zipped up. So this corkscrew, essentially you're drawing about the size of a large pizza in the sky, and then as you get really strong and capable of making this a bigger circle, as long as it's the perfect circle, because you don't want to take those legs way out and not be able to match this going around. So we want to get that really good control there. Okay, and then we'll come back to center, and then we'll switch legs to the one that's in front. And if you're a little bit more advanced, you can also come up into your position of hundreds and do that same corkscrew there. So either one is totally fine. Make sure you've got impeccable control. The shoulders are relaxed. The neck is not firing, so that even with the head being up, that neck doesn't need to overfire. It's really got to come from your powerhouse. So you zipped in. When the legs go out further and there's gravity pulling on those, make sure your back does not buckle and hyperarch there. So that framework stays in place throughout all of the work. If you put your hands around your belly, you should be able to feel those muscles engaging and wrapping inward, not pushing or expanding outward. That's why Pilates is so effective, because you can do less and get so much better results. So it's less, do less and achieve more. It's a great principle with Pilates. Okay, so there, that you should feel not only the abdominal chain, but a little bit in those legs and the hip flexor. And we're going to go ahead and take this into, let's do our crisscross first, just so we get those obliques before we hit it. Okay, so let's do hands behind the head unclasped. The head is cradled in those hands. You're not pulling on the neck in any way. In fact, go ahead and push your head back into those hands so it turns off neck muscles. We're going to bring our legs up, and they're going to be floating on an imaginary table. We still have perfect framework. Make sure you don't go into this hyper arch, but make sure also you don't need to have your back flat to the floor. It should be in neutral. Powerhouse is on, so feel that your sphincter's on all the way up, your glutes are on, wrapped all the way to the sternum. That's important. If you can practice that throughout the day, it'll make your Pilates practice so much better. So let's do one knee into the chest, and when you bring that knee into the chest, keep your framework. So you want a little bit of a scoop deep in the pelvic floor. You're going to take the opposite armpit over to the knee, and we're going to hold that for 1 moment, and then we're going to switch the legs out 3 times. And then we're going to stay there. To switch to the other side, we'll bring that leg up, hold, we're lifting, so we're rotating and lifting, and we're holding that rotation. And then we're going to do leg, 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 and then as we finish, we'll switch to the other side. So notice my legs are moving quickly, but my upper body's not yet. We're going to just work on this movement, but still be able to hold. And if you're doing this correctly, you already feel those obliques turning on and probably ready for a break. So just one more, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll do the double time with the upper body. So we'll just hold that. Woo! That's a beautiful result of static hold and stabilizing. So you probably feel that. If you've done that with me, then you feel those obliques working there. And you feel all those deep micro muscles turning on. That's what you want to feel. So when we go into the actual motion of the crisscross, that kind of control should be impeccable. So let's do that. Hands behind the head, push the head back into the hands. We'll go half time first. Nice long through the torso. We're going to breathe in, expand through the ribs. As we exhale, come up into position. Bring right arm or the armpit into the knee. Elbow goes back. Hold for 2. Then rotate, rotate, lift. Rotate, rotate, lift. Rotate, rotate, lift. So if you feel like you can continue this and be really impeccable with your form, go ahead and speed this up. So we'll go singles. Really perfect control there. Wow, that's feeling so good. Little bit of burn there. 4 more. 2 and 1 and down. Ooh, fabulous. Okay, so we'll release that. Just check inventory. Did you notice if your back turned on? So those are just things you want to be correcting as you go through this. Majority of the work should have come from the front and transverse abdominals, those obliques wrapping around, a little bit in through those hip flexors. Those were firing as we were coming in with the knee, and those are all good things. So we're going to drop those knees over to one side, and the feet are apart, so that's going to hit that line where we just stretched or we just worked. And then we'll switch over. I'm going to show you one exercise that you can do prone, and then over on your front, and then we'll call it good for the morning. Just stretching that out. We'll do our yoga breath, which is in and out through the nose. Inhale. That'll slow the breath down a little bit. Okay, so let's roll over onto all fours, and we're going to go into a bit of a modified plank, and we're going to add into that a downward dog Well, actually, we're doing a plank to an upward dog, and we'll see how that goes for us. So planks are notorious for the best ab work that we can get, but only if done correctly. So once again, everything you just learned from the principles, zipped up. So you're squeezing through your booty, shoulders and head are in alignment. So we're gonna drop or lower those hips down, still scoop that belly in. This is a modified up dog. We're gonna hold this for just a moment. You wanna feel those muscles, the whole body working here. Don't collapse through that low back. Make sure you're sewing your belly button into your spine. Soften your knees to the floor. Sit back in child's pose. So we're going to go through that framework again. Notice that the whole body is active for us with this. The whole body is participating in this activity. So think about alignment first, activation of those muscles, largest muscles first, wrapping strong, tweezing through, hug the muscle, hug the bones with those muscles. So we'll lower those hips down and we're going to hang here, but we're going to sew the belly button into the spine. Lifting those muscles from pelvic floor, sternum. You want to feel all of those muscles working. Soften the knees to the floor, sit back in child's pose. If you feel wrists or feet or up in the ears and the shoulders working, then you know you need to draw that energy out of those weaker joints and drive it from your powerhouse. So let's try that one more time. The movement here should be coming all from the core. In fact, let's just stay on our knees for a moment, and I'll teach you from the bear. If you're in this position of all fours and you feel like there's not too much weight on the wrists, well, we haven't changed. If we can actually shift the power, where the power is coming from, into our abdominal chain, we don't even have to be on our hands that much. So if you come up onto your fingers, you can feel the shift of energy go into your abdominal chain. And that's really what you want to understand about your body anatomically, so that throughout the day, you can draw the power from your center. That's your powerhouse. That's where you want to be leading from. That's where you want to be moving from. And you're going to have so much more power. And it will endure. It's an endurance muscle as well. So I'm going to show you one last movement that you can actually do. Shoulders stay relaxed. If you bring your knees off the floor and you're hovering on your fingertips as well, but doing this correctly from your powerhouse, this is I'm not going to say effortless, but it's a lot easier than if we're pushing away from our wrists. So you want to find your power and get that turned on. So let's go into our plank. We zip up. The more you turn that power on, you're going to find you have a lot more energy. So we'll drop down into that up dog. Shoulders are relaxed, really strong. Just tune in to your powerhouse. Really allow it to turn on. And there will be a time where it will shift and you'll feel like, whoa, where did that power come from? And you'll realize that whole section of your powerhouse, of your abdominal chain, may have been dormant for a while, your glutes dormant for a while. It happens because our bodies, when we sit, they just naturally turn off because our body is a beautiful conserving energy machine. But we want to learn and relearn how to utilize our body in the most efficient and ideal way. That way we don't have chronic pain and chronic issues going on. Okay? So we'll call that good. And I'll see you tomorrow. We'll do some more work. That gets us going for the day. All right? Peace and blessings. Make sure if you comment below, let me know what you want to work on, and I will try to accommodate, okay? If you haven't subscribed, be sure you subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow.